on digital radio, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Expect the unexpected.
The Donut Bag presented by The Sportscast.
The Donut Bag, hosted by Joey Bag of Donuts. And here's your host, Joey Bag of Donuts.
We got the music back. I like it. And also, look who's back. Welcome back, Darren.
It's great to be back, man. Great to be back. I got a little less hair than I used to have, but it's good to be back. And actually coming from a remote location today. I'm down in Shady Side at near off of Baum Boulevard in a studio apartment while I get treatment this week, and that way I can go back and forth because, as you know, I live a little bit further north in the city, and being there at 7 a.m. every morning is a little tough when you live an hour north. So
yeah,
good to be back.
Good to have you back. So I mean, it's been a few months since you've been on. What did you think of this Steelers off season? I mean, it was not boring. That's for darn sure.
No, it's kind of a mirror of last year, right? Omar Khan made some moves. We finally got the Aaron Rodgers deal done. Last minute before camp, you bring in Jonnu Smith, you send Mika packing, you bring in Jalen Ramsey. Those are big moves, Joe. I think we were all kind of wondering who wide receiver number 2 was going to be. But, Jonnu Smith, if you paid attention at all to the Dolphins, he can actually kind of fill that role, especially under Arthur Smith's offense. This is a guy that's kind of a jack of all trades. I think that they were kind of looking for last year and just didn't get it. So they think they got that with Jonnu Smith now. I like the trade. Minka had his time here, but then the last 2 years didn't do much, and Dolphins paid him out $13.2 million yet today. They gave him a 2-year extension, gave him $13 million. I guess that's what he wanted. I would have been mad if the Steelers would have done that, to be honest with you, because I don't think he earned that here. He just didn't make the impact that the Steelers wanted. It was obvious the Steelers were unhappy in that situation with him. And so he went packing. We got Jalen Ramsey. And the thing that Jalen Ramsey, the irony in Joey Porter, which I'm sure we're going to talk about here in a while, getting into the Ring of Honor, is, we went through a long time there, Joe, whether it was Mean Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd. Then the Steelers, when the 80s went into kind of a lull there before Greg Lloyd came along, we didn't have that aggressive guy that's going to stir the pot. Well, Joey Porter came and did that. And now, from everything we're seeing at camp, Jalen Ramsey has got this defense really fired up. And they did very well in the 7-on-7s. They won it this year. At least the end of the first week, no pads. And the defense looked fantastic. They really look good. I know it's no pads yet. You want to get too far ahead of yourself. I'll probably say that 100 times tonight. But he's been out there firing them up. I mean, he's the first one out there. He's got the towel going. He's getting them together. He's being very vocal. Already got into a couple tussles. I think it's definitely played off on JPJ. So it's been good to see. So I think Jalen Ramsey was a great acquisition for the Steelers.
All you hear about, I mean, they just started, so, and they're not even in pads, so it's not like, you could tell a lot anyway. But yeah, I've heard so much. It's like, wow, Jalen Ramsey is, and this is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Yeah, he's a little bit older, but he is one of the best. So this was huge, and yeah, losing Minka is not going to be great, but like you said, it hasn't been working. And, he hasn't really done anything. He hasn't really done any splash plays or anything. And every time they get out, it's like, oh, don't worry, it'll happen, or, whatever. But clearly they weren't happy about it. And I don't think they were actively shopping him, but they saw a chance to get rid of him. And they saw a chance to get Jalen Ramsey. It's like, hey, let's go for it. So I'm excited. Yeah. And it's just crazy that they have now. They only had one press corner sometimes, and some years they have 0, and now they have 3. Right. So it's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah. It is. And the thing about it too, Joe, is, when he was at the Dolphins in that first year with the Steelers, he was what he always has done up with. He's a good run stopping corner too. And that just disappeared. And we were all kind of waiting to see, well, is he hurt? Is he, we're waiting for that shoulder injury or, something to come out. Nothing really did. So it wasn't even like an injury prone thing with Minka, and just seemed like his game fell off, and, it did. And so here we are with Jalen. And I feel like, he's definitely been a good asset.
Yeah. So if you want to, welcome to the Donut Bag podcast, part of the Sportscast Network. If you want to join in on the conversation, there's a little scrolly thing there to go to YouTube at Joey Bag of Donuts. Before we talk about all the Steelers stuff, we had a few big deaths last week. It's weird these things come in threes. I mean, they really do. We had that Malcolm Jamal Warner, which I don't know. You're about my age. The Cosby Show was like the biggest thing in the mid *80s, and Theo was a big part of that. So losing someone, also he's around my age too. So that when you see somebody that, like around your age that goes, that's weird. So yeah, there was Malcolm Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne, a legendary frontman, and it was just. They say sometimes you hold, when you're at the end of your life, you kind of hold on for certain things. It looks like he held on for that one final concert, that one final performance, and then he's like, okay, now it's time to go.
Now it's time to go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Black Sabbath, and then he had the great solo career, and then probably the first real reality show with the Osbournes, which was just, I mean, so much fun. You could even say that they, other than, I can't remember if like Survivor and Big Brother came before that, but like it was the first like look inside like a famous family, and it was just tremendous entertainment from him to Sharon and him yelling her name and Kelly and the whole crew, and it was just you couldn't stop watching it.
He kind of invented a genre. I mean, yeah, Survivor and all that and stuff that that was like one different type of reality show, but here this was the let's look at inside the lives of a celebrity show, and it invented a whole thing. If there would be no Kardashians if it wasn't for Ozzy,
right?
So right. I guess that's a bad thing on his side, but still, I mean, he had it's just crazy how many lives he had, how many different things he did. And just the outpouring of love and all the, like, you see all these tributes and you see all these bands and artists doing Ozzy songs, the Black Sabbath songs. It's just amazing, an amazing tribute. And then Hulk Hogan,
tough one.
It's tough. In the 80s, in the early 80s, there were three, when I was just a little kid, there are three people that I just gravitated toward. One of them was Mary Lemieux, one of them was Michael Jordan, and the other was Hulk Hogan. And they all came about like around 84, 85, something like that. And they all rose to prominence at that time. And to me, Hulk Hogan and all of those like early 80s WWF guys, those were like my superheroes. I didn't read comic books or anything like that. I just watched WWF superstars every week, and Hulk Hogan was the biggest thing. And people want to diminish what he did. It was like, oh, who was the biggest, Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock or something like that? Sorry, but in Stone Cold and The Rock were big, but nothing compared to Hulk Hogan in the 80s. He changed everything. He changed wrestling. Wrestling used to be, Memphis wrestling and Texas wrestling and Florida wrestling and New York wrestling and all this stuff. And then Vince McMahon came and wiped it all out and made it all a national thing. And it was all because of Hulk Hogan. And he wasn't just a big wrestling star. He was a huge celebrity that everybody knew.
Yeah, it's funny when you go back to the history, and you got to give Vince McMahon the insight as to taking it global, right? He bought all the regional stuff. You and I even talk about sometimes turning our antennas to getting NWA and which eventually became WCW, and seeing stuff like Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. But what the thing was, McMahon needed a catalyst. He had a great idea. He had in some people's opinions, you talk to some of those guys, they still hate Vince. But he had this great idea. He still needed that catalyst. Now, in the early 80s, Bruno Sammartino, believe it or not, he was in his 50s, right? So he was the big stud with the WWF and was the hero, obviously, in Pittsburgh. We've talked about Bruno on this program before. But Bruno was 53. He needed a new young guy. Here comes Hulk Hogan, 28, 6'8", blonde hair, 24-inch biceps. And then what Hogan did better than anybody is promote the brand. He transcended wrestling. He had cartoons, everything, right? And like you said, he was an 80s icon. Like I think of musicians, when I start thinking of the athletes, Jordan, Lemieux, right, stuff like that, he was almost like kind of dipped his fingers in every part of that.
Yeah.
You had Cyndi Lauper, you had, Liberace, you had, Hogan was in everything. Johnny Carson, the famous Johnny Carson interview.
Yeah.
He went out there and he promoted the brand, and that's what it was. And he still to the day, like it was a year ago, he did the interview. He had a humility about it, right? They asked him, "Who's the Mount Rushmore wrestling?" Hulk Hogan is on that Mount Rushmore without question. He wouldn't put himself on it. He put Ric Flair, Andre the Rock, and Austin. Hogan obviously, without question, belongs on that Mount Rushmore. They probably need more heads, but he just transcended the sport, Joe. He was everywhere and everything, and Hogan knows best. I remember my wife and I first started dating. We'd watch that stupid show.
I think it was right after Ozzy. Like Ozzy was the first, but I think Hulk Hogan was the second of the reality shows.
Remember when he was on the A-Team? He had Mr. T, another 80s icon. He was on the A-Team, and then Mr. T paired up with him in WrestleMania 1.
Yeah.
Against Roddy Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton. And it was just, it was incredible. It was great. It was amazing. And he went to the last, he was wrestling up to only a year and a half ago, making appearances, and just a huge loss to studio wrestling, professional wrestling community, but to the 80s. And I saw a lot of stuff this week that immediately, with as always is, controversy comes up. Well, he said this, he did that, and then today, really, a lot of people. I don't know if you saw it on social media. I was getting my chemo treatment, and I was scanning through a bunch of stuff. Brooke Hogan, who is lambasting him lately, came out and said, I made a mistake by not being there, because Nick was there, his son. She actually put out a post today. I regret not being there on his dying day. I made a mistake. We may not have always got along. Up until his death, they hadn't talked in like 2 years.
Wow.
And so she kind of came out today. Kevin Nash, Bubba Ray came out, because there's a whole thing over the racist comments, which I saw some people blast him about. He was profoundly sorry about that. We all make mistakes, Joe. I'm sure at your time I've said something, I swear, whatever, you said something derogatory by mistake or whatever. You don't really mean it. You say it in hash, you say it in anger. And, he went out of his way to try to ask for forgiveness on that. And I think, especially with what I've gone through over the last couple of months, forgiveness is something you ask for. And I think, people are willing to give it to you. It's there. We all make mistakes, and he made a few. And, but I think overall he was just an icon. And, it was a sad day when he passed, for sure.
I saw a clip. He was talking to Mick Foley, and years ago he just dismissed Mick Foley. He just, that guy's just a stunt man or something like that. And I saw them talking, and he said, I just said that out of ignorance. I'm really sorry I said that. That was really stupid of me to say. So yeah, I mean, you do and say stupid things, and some things are unforgivable, but some things it's like, what, I made a mistake, and I'm really sorry. So but yeah. And then for me, there were three big Hogan moments. There was all that stuff, in the mid 80s when he was a champion. There was, of course, WrestleMania 3 with Andre the Giant. There was when he wrestled on Saturday Night's Main Event against Andre, and when he lost that whole thing with the $1 million man and stuff like that. That was watched by almost 34 million people.
Yeah, you're talking Super Bowl numbers.
Yeah.
And
then so he leaves WWF, goes to WCW, and that goes, blah, blah, blah. And then the NWO happens, and once again, you mentioned, Vince McMahon taking things national. It's like, it would not have worked with anybody else. It would, if you decided to back Macho Man or something. Macho Man was a great thing, but he wasn't like a national, a mega star. And same thing with NWO. There was nobody else that could have been the third man.
Right.
And I just remember at the time, this was when the internet was just starting, so not everything was spoiled and stuff like that. I don't think anybody had any idea that was going to happen, and that just shocked the world.
It was on national news the next day. Like the Today Show had it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, holy crap.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right on all that. And that's the other thing, a testament to his ability. Like, I was thinking about that a lot this past week. He really hit a pinnacle in 89. So WrestleMania 5, it's him and the Macho Man Savage. It's a great match. He beats the Macho Man, the two biggest wrestlers at the time. And then after that, it was kind of a bunch of flukes. He loses to the Warrior, who I was never a big fan of the Ultimate Warrior because Vince thought, well, the Warrior's the guy. Then Hogan kind of falls in this whole like back alley thing with Sid and some other guys. And then the whole debacle, I think it was WrestleMania 9 or 10. I think it was 9, where, Yokozuna beats Hitman, and then he goes in, and people were booing him. I mean, he had a fight the night before. He had a black eye from Randy Savage in real life, right? K-Baby. So, fans are starting to boo him. Then came the steroid thing. So he went from 1989 to that early 90s, like 90 to 92, 93 was a bad time. He easily could have died out. He made some horrible movies, kind of like The Rock and John Cena. And, it looked like it was all over. Goes to WCW, largely kind of a repeat of the Hulkster mantra. And when, like you said, Bash at the Beach, 1996, we're talking almost, 8 years after WrestleMania 5. And boom, he just transcends it again. Here comes the NWO. I mean, he became the ultimate bad guy, played it perfectly. Then comes back. And then we go to, was it WrestleMania 18 with him and The Rock, which is largely considered maybe the second or third greatest match in WrestleMania history. So you're talking almost 11 years after a WrestleMania where he was significant. I mean, it's just, he just never, ever stopped, not even reinventing himself, never being relevant. He found a way to keep him relevant, keep the sport relevant, and in two different, factions, of which eventually would merge to one. But I mean, it just, nobody else did that. Ric Flair, you could argue, came close. Savage did fairly well, but he carried the mail.
The match with The Rock is amazing. By the way, hi Dave.
Hey Dave.
The match with the Rock was amazing because, that was at the time where WCW was gone. WWF bought him out. And then you started. You couldn't bring back the WCW guys at first because of the contracts, but then they were able to start to come in, and they were reviving the NWO. And hey, why not? It was the biggest thing 5 years ago. Let's revive the thing in WWF. And Hulk Hogan was supposed to be the bad guy, and Rock is the good guy. And they're in Toronto, and the crowd said, "No, we love Hulk Hogan, and we're backing Hulk Hogan." And in the middle of the match, Hogan and Rock say, "Okay." Hogan's like, "Okay, don't worry. We're whatever plans we had, let's throw them out the window. Let's go on the fly here." And they just fed off that. And there was a point where The Rock hits his finisher, the Rock Bottom, and he goes for the pin. 1, 2, Hogan kicks out, and that place the roof almost blew off in Toronto. The fans were going crazy, and then he hulked up again, and he did the thing, and he did the boot and the big meaty thigh of doom leg drop, and Rock kicked out, and Rock ended up winning. But still, it's just so funny that they had a plan. It was like, okay, Hogan's the bad guy, Rock's the good guy, and blah blah blah. And the crowd said, no, we are fully, because they love that Hulk Hogan character. And from, I think, like the next night, he became like the red and yellow again.
It really was, and it's just like Hulkamania will live forever. A lot of the tributes, they show him holding that banner up, and that's true. Hulkamania will live forever. I mean, it's just, it's incredible, and he was an incredible asset to that, incredible to the fans. Last couple of years in Tampa, I wanted to get there to see him. Fortunately, didn't make it, but he has the Hulk Hogan shop there right in Clearwater. And there's a famous video of that little boy who's probably about 6. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but you can YouTube it. He just really interacted with the kids in particular. He did a lot of stuff for Make-A-Wish. There is a picture of him here at Shady Side with, obviously it must have been a Make-A-Wish at some point.
Oh, wow.
With a couple kids I've seen, and just just a great guy.
Dave says the Hulk was the best and worst thing. Vince was looking for the next Hulk instead of the next thing. Yeah, I mean, wrestling in general, just basically from like the early 90s, just was like bad. And the part of the problem with the WWF is that they weren't just looking for the next Hogan, they were looking for the next Undertaker, because the Undertaker was the other big thing that Vince invented of this, supernatural dude. So he decided, let's have everybody do a gimmick. Let's have Duke the Dumpster Drozy and the Repo Man and all this, one gimmick after another, and people were tired of that, and that's why people loved when the NWO came out, because they were the cool bad guys. People were cheering the NWO, and that was what was needed. But yeah, Hulk Hogan is just larger than life figure. But
one thing I thought you mentioned there too, Joe, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Malcolm Jamal Warner, as we often find out with a lot of these celebrities, he was a massive Steelers fan.
What?
Yes, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. It's like sometimes like at Joe Mantiago, I said his last name wrong.
Mantinelli.
Thank you. You know some of them for sure. But he was a huge Steelers fan, and I didn't realize that until they had a picture of him at something, and he had all his Steelers.
Wow, so, that's cool.
Funny thing about Malcolm Jamal Warner being a Steeler fan, I think Hogan was always more. He stuck with the Tampa stuff and seemed to be pretty big there. But Ric Flair's a Steeler fan. And both of the guys from Demolition are big Steeler fans. I'll never forget. We won my son and I went to Latrobe. This is actually first year. I don't go this year. It'll be first year in a very long time I haven't gone. And it was we won some contest. It was a family package. So he got to meet Juju Smith at the time, who I think was either rookie or second year.
Wow.
And then to fire up the crowd, that's when you go to Heinz Field and they have the practice at Heinz Field.
Okay.
They have all the kind of stuff going on. Well, the guys that did the coin toss to see who got the ball first, offense or defense, was both of the guys from Demolition.
No way.
I always forget their names. The one guy's from Pittsburgh. He's from Monroeville. I think it was Axe.
There's Barry Darso.
And
I don't remember.
Barry Darso's from Wheeling or something.
Oh wow.
He also went on to become the Repo Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had a black and yellow Demolition paint, and that was so cool. But it's funny how you find what's sad too when someone passes away, but it's ironic how you find out who's a member of Steeler Nation, because
that's crazy.
Yep.
Wow. So one thing, I mean, there hasn't been much that has happened, but one thing that's happened, and we hear about who's looking good and who's not looking good, and we mentioned Jalen Ramsey's looking really good. I heard that Broderick Jones not looking so great so far, and then he got hurt. And the thing that sucks about that is, okay, he's our starting left tackle. Who do we have now?
You have Dylan Cook or Gareth Warren, right? Gareth Warren's kind of like your utility guy.
Yeah.
He can play guard. He can play tackle. Dylan Cook's not bad. He had some time playing last year, but I know it was Mark Cabali who came out with that today. He's got off to a slow start. He has that. I think most of that goes back to last Thursday when Nick Herbig just ate his lunch all day, and they won that day on the 7-on-7s. And I've always said, and my background playing high school football and covering Big Ten, and I always was kind of assigned to lineman, defense and offense. And I'm not an expert. It doesn't make me an expert, but I've always said his footwork is not kind of transitioned properly from his University of Georgia days over the NFL. Because no matter what you are, size, wingspan, all these great talents he's been blessed with, his footwork has to adjust to the speed of the NFL. And I just don't think that that's come through. And you're right. The injury part of that is, well, how do you fix footwork? It's repetition. It's coaching repetition. Well, the longer he's sidelined, the less repetition he gets. And the more concern I have, he's going to be good. Because I would like to have seen him in pads. it's hard to say. I know what Cavalli said. I don't disagree or agree, but hard to say he's off to a slow start when they're not in pads yet. But you know, that was the main concern. You talked about it last week in the show, and because other things are clicking. Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good. JPJ's bounced back. I thought it's been great that Tomlin has stuck him solely on DK Metcalf. They've had some tremendous battles. He's got burnt a few times. He's also defended the ball very well a few times. Quan, we talked about the running back. He's looked fantastic. And now Will Howard. Will Howard is this. He and not only is he like the darling, right? Because I think everybody, and I think good fan bases, Cowboys, Steelers, Brownies, they embrace the darling. They embrace the underdog. Well, here comes Will Howard, and he's not just the guy that was a 5th or 6th round pick that might make an impact. He's looking good to go along with what you're saying there in the crawl. He's insane. It's like 26 out of 31. He's threw 1 interception. He's thrown like 5 touchdowns. So it's like Aaron Rodgers is talking him up. There's been a lot of that talk. Like him and Aaron Rodgers are getting along good. We all love Big Ben. We all know Big Ben didn't embrace Mason Rudolph like Aaron Rodgers is embracing Will Howard. So the crowd is going nuts. They're chanting his name when he goes out there. They're absolutely losing it when Will Howard takes the field. So it's like, Mason Rudolph's like, well, I'm going to 3rd string. Nobody is chanting Mason Rudolph.
No.
So, a lot of things are looking good. The defense in particular, they're fired up. They're picking the ball off. Tight ends are running great routes. Muth and Aaron Rodgers had a misunderstanding that first day. They've since patched that up. So, hey, it's no pads. You talked about the importance, or maybe too much emphasis put on pads with Mike Tomlin, Camp Tomlin, but we'll see how that goes this week. But yeah, Broderick Jones is the one concern. If he doesn't come together, because we all remember, I don't want to, what do you want to say? Put bad voodoo. We all remember what happened to Aaron Rodgers' first damn play, or first third down with the Jets, when the left tackle there missed his assignment. The movie The Blind Side, right? They talk about that. The left tackle is like the slum of high speed. There's a reason, and so Broderick Jones better come together, because a 41-year-old quarterback isn't exactly swift.
Dave is putting Will Howard in the Hall of Fame already. There we go. This is not the first I've heard of this. We don't need to draft a quarterback next year. We got our quarterback now. I think I was just jumping the gun a little bit, but it's funny. Howard Mania is running wild, brother.
It is. Yeah. Oh boy.
I mean, that's like the biggest story at camp is Will Howard does anything and the crowd goes wild. And it seems like that Latrobe always has a lot of people, but it sounds like there's just a lot of people there, and I could just imagine he's not even the 3rd string, he's the 4th string quarterback technically. There's poor Skylar Thompson. What's he has to, what do I have to do around here? So I mean, I just
practice squad kid.
Right. Yeah, you better get used to the practice squad. But yeah, it's just funny that, and I think that just speaks to like the entire situation. We had some old fart Band-Aid last year. We have an old fart Band-Aid this year, right. And then you have this kid, this drafted one. Sure, he's the chosen one. Why not? Let's go behind him. It's like, he's not an AARP yet. So let's rally around behind this kid. So it's just funny.
It's only 1 week in, but I think it was great that you started the Steeler talk off with like who's looked good, because right now you have 2 starters that are not looking as good as their backups. One is Juan Thornhill, because Chuck Clark has looked phenomenal in a defensive backfield. They're playing free safety. He's looked really, really good. He had a pick 6. He batted down a few balls. And talk about batting down a few balls. How about Yaha? Am I always saying that right? Yeah, Yaha Black is kind of showing up.
I think it's YA, which is really weird.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Like, where do you get YA from that spelling? I have no idea, but
yeah, what are you doing, Iowa? Yeah, so YA Black. I mean, he's batted down like 5 passes, both from Aaron and Will. He dang near picked off a pass from Mason Rudolph. He's actually pushing Keanu Benton, and that's the one thing where I think the Steelers, if they can get younger defensive line, they're going to open the door and say, "Hey, if Black can outplay Benton, we'll take him." Because he's looked exceedingly well. I'm very interested to see how he does, in particular, this coming week in Pats. Because he's looking like he could have been a really good pick at number 4. Yeah. So he's pushing Keanu Benton. And that's the thing. The Steelers are raving about the linebackers, and they should. Patrick Queen has looked fantastic, almost like the Patrick Queen we expected. And he even admits last year he could have been better. I think Peyton Wilson's going to be the guy this year, Joe, that's going to wow a lot of people. Well, when we look back at, guys like, I'm doing this because I don't have them up. When you look at got my toys, Jack Lambert and Jack Ham, reason they did so well is because they had guys like Joe Green and L.C. Greenwood and Dwight White pounding his offensive lines, and the linebackers would tear into them. When they had the Blitzberg, Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd, they had Joel Steed. They had all these great defensive linemen. If the Steelers could ever get the defensive line to start opening up holes, TJ Watt is going to be back. You're going to have Queen. You're going to have Wilson. You're going to have Highsmith. They could be back. They could. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself and be a Yinzer. They could get back to Blitzberg if the damn defensive line can actually start putting pressure on the offensive line, opening up holes. It could be a really good, stout defense this year.
It could. It could, and I think Jalen Ramsey could have something to do with that. I think with them having possibly TJ Watt and Highsmith move around a little bit, I think that could have something to do with it. Yeah. I mean, the possibilities are excited. And here's the funny thing: we're a good way into this podcast. We have not even talked about the first round draft pick yet, who apparently is also looking awesome, Harmon.
Yes, he is. He's looking fantastic, and that's the thing. You get Harmon, Benton, and then I love throwing in Hayward. We know he's 13 years into it, but you get that veteran presence, and you get a bunch of young guys that are finally pushing through. We've been waiting for this for 5 years, Joe. It's been Cam Hayward and the rookies, and none of them have panned out. But this could be panning out. I think this week's going to be a lot of fun in pads to see what that defensive line does against this offensive line. A, it tells what the defensive line's going to look like. B, it's going to tell is the offensive line's going to look like. I assume looks at Broderick Jones is day to day, so I don't know if we're going to see him much this week, and until maybe a week from now, maybe or even later, maybe like next Thursday or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting because it's like there's only so much you could tell when you're not in pads. There's only so much you do. But another, I don't want to say surprise, but I mean, we knew the biggest story was going to be how is Aaron Rodgers going to do? And so far, he is doing and saying all the right things. He's not ruffling any feathers. He's getting along with everybody. And then he went on, he was talking to Kyle Brandt, and they were talking about, and Kyle Brandt mentioned what Terry Bradshaw said to him. Terry Bradshaw said something like, you should go chew on some bark or whatever the heck he said.
Whatever that meant. I mean, I think Terry's starting to get up in that age when he's saying some things that are a little crazy. But yeah, and the funny thing about that is he read word for word what Terry Bradshaw said about it. And I think you had a good word there with surprise, because Aaron Rodgers has had a past of saying how he thinks or what he thinks without much filter. And he handled that really well. Like you said, he could have had every opportunity to say, well, Terry Bradshaw is a fat old blah, blah, blah now. And crazy. But first thing he did is he's a 4-time Super Bowl champion. He's a Hall of Famer. He recognized that, acknowledged that, and just kind of moved on, which surprised me a little bit too. I thought, oh boy, here we go. Here's the Aaron Rodgers I was worried about. And he just kind of kept his mouth shut.
But I mean, also, where he is, It's like, hey, this guy is asking him, hey, Terry Bradshaw called you out. You're in Latrobe. That's like going to church and saying, hey, why don't you say some bad things about God? I mean, you also
Yeah.
have to, remember where you are.
Who's your
But
least favorite
still,
saint?
I mean,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers said, I've known Terry a long time being part of Fox. Terry's a legend. He's an absolute legend. He won 4 Super Bowls. He's had a legendary career in the media. But Terry, like a lot of people, doesn't know me. So he's got an idea of what he thinks about me based on what I've done, the documentary, what I've said, Darkness Retreat, whatever the hell you want to talk about. But I'd love to know Terry on a deeper level, and talking about how he's a legend and all that stuff. So I think that the thing is, to defend Terry here, I think Terry was saying those things when we were in the period of that whole period of, is Aaron Rodgers going to sign? We went the first 4 or 5 months of this year saying, what is Aaron Rodgers going to sign? Is Aaron Rodgers, what's he going to do? He goes on Pat McAfee and says, I don't know if I want to play anymore, and I got stuff going on in my personal life, and blah, blah, blah. And, and we all got sick of it. So I think that's what Terry was commenting on. I don't think he was commenting. I think he was just tired of, hey, buddy, and we were all saying this, like, hey, buddy, either sign or don't sign. We're tired of this will he, won't he crap. So I don't think Terry really has anything against Aaron Rodgers. I think he was just impatient with this whole will he, won't he crap.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. It's a good point that's when he brought it up, was during that time frame. Like, we didn't know. And I think it was only a week later, and then Rodgers signed like the next couple of days later, or whatever it was. But yeah, I think Terry said what a lot of us were thinking. And, I think it was another way of saying either, crap or get off the pot. David asked about, just to back up a little bit, is it a hamstring injury on Jones? And it is. And
I
he's
think
right.
Is,
now, comparatively, I guess from what I understand, Kenny Pickett suffered actually a rather more severe hamstring injury yesterday afternoon's practice, and he could be on the shelf for a while, which probably puts him in a little bit of jeopardy of what the Browns' 56 quarterbacks they have. But it looked like
it would not surprise me if Pickett was cut, and that's before this injury.
Yeah, me either. They're just too. Sanders hasn't looked bad, and now there's the other rookie kid from Oregon, and of course Flacco's Flacco. But
Flacco's probably going to be the starter. So.
They're not getting rid of Flacco. You're right. He'll be the starter of the backup because he's Joe Flacco. He's got the resume. But no, it looked like the thing about Broderick Jones, as big of a guy as he is, he was standing on it. They had it wrapped with some ice and stuff. He sat down and stood up, watched practice. Didn't, it looked like it was being treated as a one-a-day thing, which is why I think he probably might be back next week. But David makes a great point. If that's a nagging injury, that's a problem because it could be re-aggravated.
Exactly. This could go on all year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They don't call them hamstring injuries anymore. They're all the phrase of the du jour is soft tissue. It's soft tissue.
Right. Yeah.
So are there hard tissues?
Yeah. Yeah. Relatively hard, relatively soft, mild. It's gonna be like hockey. It's gonna be like hockey soon. He has an upper body contusion or a lower body contusion.
Lower body. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Somewhere on their body, there's an injury. We're just not gonna say where. It could be his forehead. It could be his middle toe. Could be his hernia. We're just not going to tell you. So
yeah.
It's getting to be that point.
But yes, but so far, so good with Aaron Rodgers. It's just I don't know. It's just kind of mind blowing. Like years from now, we're gonna say, "You remember when we had Russell Wilson? Remember that Russell Wilson year? Remember that Aaron Rodgers year? What the heck was that?" Like. Hopefully, we'll be on our 10th Super Bowl by then. But still, it's just such a weird time in our history, and it's just weird. It's just I just can't believe it's happening. And I love that he's sharing a toilet with DK Metcalf.
Right.
It's loud, and you have to tell me, if it's late at night, don't flush the toilet because it's loud or something like that. I love that. I love stuff like that.
Oh, me too. And he was saying he was glad it wasn't a big sweaty offensive lineman, which I thought was funny because he smiled when he said it, and it's probably going to cost him a dinner later this season or at camp. Everybody go to Dino's. But no, the funny thing too, I guess if you ask, I think right now our quarterback room and our running back room are better than what they were at this time last year. And I think that's something to be positive about. And I would even dare to say maybe our wide receiver room. I know that, Robert Woods isn't exactly everybody's answer, but, I think, Rowan Wilson has showed some promise in this camp too. We're finally seeing what he can do healthy. There's no quarterbacks or kickers pushing a blocking sled. That's good. So that also has gone well. Yeah. So yeah, Joe, you don't want to get too positive. It's been 1 week, but it's been a week, I think, of positivity and seeing some things that weren't there in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting. One more thing, Cordarrelle Patterson, he announced his own release. He broke his own news.
That was so great.
He tweeted that it's like breaking news. I got released, which
on my day
kind of
off
went viral because I said on my day off, yeah. And I said, "Do you have a source on this?"
Right.
It's silly. I mean, this is the guy at the end of his career, and I mean, I think he actually kind of looked good for a few games last year, but yeah. I mean, I'm just shocked this happened now and not months ago.
I would like to have seen a healthy Patterson, only 5 or 6 years into his career, because he really is a heck of an athlete with tremendous, even now, pretty good athletically and good speed for his age. And but yeah, you're right. I think kind of came to an end, and the Steelers have seen it. I think they wanted to see what it might look like in 1 week at training camp, and I think he actually reported to veterans camp, and I think they saw what they needed to see, and yeah, yep. That also gives him a chance. That gives him a chance to sign on with another team, in fairness to him too. So he might very well do that.
Yeah, it's funny. You break your own news. Hey, why not? Why not?
There's been a lot today. I mean, the Browns are now down to a UFL running back. Butcher this name, Tua Taoa. So they brought him on because
something like Tua or something.
Yeah, and he was the leading rusher in the UFL, which I think a lot of us could do. No, just kidding. But Browns are in a little bit of trouble with their running back room right now, and you had the Kenny Pickett news, and it's been a little bit crazy day. This is the type of year that makes it kind of fun. You get these kind of stories, you're like, oh God, because you think about Broderick Jones, there is not a lot of left tackles out there. If the Steelers do need to move in that direction, and if David's correct about a nagging injury or a reoccurring injury, it's slim pickings right now. Left tackles are a dime a dozen, and people have already picked them up. And so, there's nothing.
Right. I mean, people are saying, well, why don't they have more depth? Like every team is looking for depth. Every team is some teams don't have enough starting offensive linemen, let alone backups. So,
right.
Yeah, this is just par for the course. You just got to deal with it, and maybe early in training camp that's good. Whoever it is that would replace them, to get some reps or whatever, or get in with the thing. I mean, Sayamalo's out too, which is kind of a concern.
Yeah, they didn't seem to think it was too serious with him. Well, they did seem he would miss maybe the rest of camp. They said he'd be ready for week 1.
Oh, wow.
So we'll see on that. But I mean, I think he's kind of cemented. He'll be there, do well. I think they're not worried about him. I think they want him to get healthy. But yeah, and if you look, there's a free agent listing. I looked it up after I saw about the injury to Broderick, and Chris Hubbard's one of the top free agents. He's a former backup for us. So there's really slim pickings out.
Hey, why not?
There's not. Yeah, right. I mean, you may very see if he doesn't play next week, I would suspect they might bring somebody else in. And Chris Hubbard knows the system, I guess. He might be a guy they bring in. I don't know. But that's that's a concern. And if that goes down, Joe, he was a 16th pick, right? And the first round pick, he was 16 overall. You got to look at that. If it doesn't work out this year, you got to start looking at that as one of the bigger busts in the last 20
That's a
years.
bust. Yeah, that's a bust, and that was, I believe, Omar Khan's first draft pick. So that's not that doesn't look good for him. So yeah, that was a strike. So
yeah.
All right. Well,
I want to say one thing before you sign off. First of all, I want to thank you and my wife. Thanks you. It was really nice for you to check in on me these last couple of months. I'd say about every week you'd send a text, and I appreciated that. And I got to say, all the years that going to Penguins games as a season ticket holder and a fan for a lifetime. We talked about the 80s earlier, being a season ticket holder through, a long time. And then supporting the Mary Lemieux Foundation when he started that, whether we sent financially or did the walk, which I think you've done the walk and the marathon, if I'm not mistaken. I've never run the marathon. I've had some cousins that have, but I haven't run it. I've walked. I never thought someday it would be saving my life. And it's been really something. This last part of my treatment has been held at the Mary Lemieux Cancer for Blood Cancers on the 4th floor at Hillman Cancer Center here in Pittsburgh. It's where I'm at this week. It's where I'll be in tomorrow morning and the rest of the week. So it's really surreal, but I think it speaks to his character, your character as not only a host of the show, but a friend of mine. I can't tell you how much I've appreciated you and your kindness and caring. Ash and several of our other co-hosts have been asking Leanne and Allison have been messaging me, making sure I was doing okay. And that meant a lot to me. I'm going to do the show as much as I can over the next couple of weeks. I think that first couple of weeks of September might be touch and go with, how I'm feeling in the hospital, but that stem cell transplant's coming up in September, and it's going to be a little bit of a rough go, but we'll get to the light at the end of the tunnel and do well. The doctors here are amazing. One thing we talk about a lot of sports in the show, obviously, but you could heck of a podcast just talking about the nurses and doctors here at UPMC. They've been basically saving my life, and I'm appreciative of them. I'm appreciative of you and all our listeners and stuff like that. So thank you for that.
Well, we're all praying for you. I pray for you every day.
Thank you.
You scared the crap out of me because I texted you a couple of weeks ago and you never responded. I don't think you got it because it just says delivered. And I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? Is he okay? But then I saw you tweeting. I was like, okay, he's okay.
Yeah, sorry, I must have missed that one. I missed a few.
You scared me for a minute there, but
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've had great support. My wife is incredible.
That's okay. It's okay. I saw you tweeting. And it's like, okay, we'll just.
Yeah, he's okay. When you're tweeting again, yeah. So, but from my wife to my kids to my kid, son, and then my parents, it's been tremendous. So, thank you, David. I appreciate that. I couldn't be anywhere else. Just amazing where we live. We're very lucky.
It's I've heard Pittsburgh has some of the best facilities. Even the folks at Sportscast saying great to see you again.
Thanks, Sportscast. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks, Sportscast. Thanks for being good
for you. Like a hockey injury, we'll just call it an upper body injury. We'll just we'll make it. We'll say you have a soft tissue injury, so we could be.
That's right. That's right. Soft tissue injury. All right.
Yeah. You're welcome anytime. It's so good to hear from you again. You look great. So
thanks, Joe.
This was awesome. Just talking to you, talking sports and everything else is just the secondary. It was just great seeing you. So
thank you.
Yeah. Looking forward to talking to you again.
You too, Joe. Talk to you soon. Thank you again.
All right. I'll see you.
Yep. Bye, Pittsburgh.